Welcome back to the VHS Vault. I'm your host, VHS Chase. This is Jason Roy Gaston. And this week's special guest joining the team is Joe.
Hey, what's going on? It's the Killer
Hey.
Pudgy Clown 5 himself.
Yeah, how did we let you on the show? No, we absolutely, Joe, when we announced that we spun this movie, the first person to react when we put it out was Joe. He goes, I love this movie.
I do.
I own this movie on DVD.
I do.
And it was like, I think he's given me a fairly strong hint he would like to be on the show.
That's right.
So, of course, here you are. I've got a confession, guys. I'd never seen this movie until I've just watched it a couple of days ago.
Oh, man, you missed out. And your life's changed for the better, I'm sure.
Jason, this is a big film for you when you were younger?
Well, I actually don't think that I saw it until I was in high school.
Oh.
But I remember they said, coming up next, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. I thought, I gotta see what this is. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's such a goofy, stupid movie, and I just love every glorious frame of this monstrosity.
Even the theme by the Dickies was just incredible.
Well, Joe, where did you first see this? What was your first contact as such?
Oh, look at that. I got to make my fart noises. But
Yeah.
there you go. I saw this in my mom. So my mother used to have a bedroom on the first floor of the house where we lived and where I grew up. And she and my uncle were the only ones that had HBO. So I remember it was like really, really late. It was the second Freddy movie had just come on for the first time. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then next was Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Because, I'm fascinated with clowns. The amount of time it takes for people to put all that makeup on is always like, wow, that's a talent. Especially since I can't do it. And then when the movie came on, it didn't scare me. I was like, what is going on? And then the theme song hit, and I was like, I love this. And you have the crazy acting from the jump when the old farmer comes out. What in the darnation?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Oh,
We'll definitely get into that. But your first impressions were obviously positive, and you've seen. Is it fair to say you've both seen this movie multiple times?
Absolutely, for me.
Yes, very much so.
Very much so.
Yeah.
As somebody now going back and revisiting it, I'll get you guys to comment on that first before I give you my experience. But going back and revisiting it, I don't know if it's something you'd seen recently or it had been a beat. Like Joe, watching it again, what was your reaction in watching this movie all these years later?
So one of the reasons why I wanted to definitely be on this one is because I recently bought the DVD because I had it on VHS. Because one of the Blockbuster went out and they cleared it out. It was only $1. So I was like, sweet. And then I no longer have a VHS player. My VHS player died. Yeah. So I was like, I really want to get this on DVD. I've never seen it. And then one day Best Buy decided, hey, we're having a clearance sale, $3. You can get Killer Klowns from Outer Space. It was in a giant bin, like twice my size, and I'm a big fella. And I remember sifting through, and then all of a sudden there it was like, oh my God, I love this movie. So I got it and I watched it, and that was a year and a half ago. So it's only been a year and a half since I've seen it.
So it's been fairly recent. So going back again, you still obviously have the love and affection for the film that you initially had.
Yeah, it doesn't skip a beat. It's a fantastic film. Everybody who's a dick is supposed to be a dick in it. Mooney, the one guy that's like the badass cop, is just unbelievable. It's like, really, dude? Like, everybody's screaming about the same thing, and you're like, everybody's playing pranks on me. What's going on? The effects were cheesy, but they were good cheesy. And I gotta say, those animatronic faces on the clowns were incredible. Like, I watched it, I think the other day, maybe Sunday night, and I was like, you know what? That's still pretty impressive. The way their faces, their eyes, and their faces move, and they, the way they morph their mouths and everything. I thought it was a really cleverly done movie. I'm sure that was mainly basketball players in uniforms and clown suits, but it worked for me, and I'll probably watch it in a couple of months again because I have the DVD.
Jason, going back and watching it the other day again, I don't know when you'd seen it before then, but going back, do you still hold the affection? Do you still enjoy it as much today as you did back then?
I think I appreciate the movie more today than I did whenever I first looked at it because, as I've said before, I'm a big fan of talented filmmakers stretching a budget to their absolute limit. And I think that I'm hope I don't mispronounce this. The Chiodo brothers, who were at the time very well-known special effects artists. Here's a list of their credits:
Oh,
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Critters, Team America World Police,
oh,
Elf, and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Wow.
jeez.
We're in
That's an
for a while.
impressive list.
Oh, incredibly. But all of these credits have one thing in common, then that is that all of their special effects shots are never meant to look real. Sorry, my cat is attacking my light. I'm sure. None of their shots look real. You know, Large Marge in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, obviously claymation. Team America World Police, obviously everything in there is fake. Elf, they did the stop motion sequence in Elf. All of that is meant to look very stylized, and I think that stylized flair that they are best known for really lent to the look of this movie, because this movie, it's cheap looking. I mean, there's one part where they walk through a set and it's obviously cardboard that they've painted, and they're moving back and forth. And yet at the same time, it's stylized and it's wonderful and it works.
Yeah.
So I think that absolutely $1.8 million budget for this movie.
Whoa.
They made this movie look like it had a budget 10 times what it did. And it's all through clever tricks. And as you watch this movie, you realize what those clever tricks are, and you respect it more.
Wow. That's really interesting. Well, as someone who had not seen the film in his youth, I lament that straight off the bat, because if I'd seen that film at 10, 11, 12, that would have been the single greatest movie of all time, because it has all the ingredients that I love. But I'm watching it, right, from an adult perspective. So I'm watching it as someone who's seen a lot of films at this point and seen a lot of films in the 80s. And it occurs to me that this film is subtly genius on the back end, because this movie in many ways is a satire.
Mm-hmm.
It's a satire on the alien and horror film genre, because it is using all the tropes, putting a twist on it, making fun of it in such a way that it's so over the top goofy. It'd be impossible to be critical of this film, because if you go, it looks cheap, it's supposed to look cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't like how the clowns look. They look too hideous. Their eyes don't move. It's supposed to be like that. Everything is intentionally done here. And this takes it from something that would have been normally a C-grade film that may have got one theatre release, to a film that I can see was a loving tribute to a genre that not only made them successful as directors, but a genre that were at the time was ready to be poked and made fun about. You know, I think I mentioned this in the Friday the 13th movie, a similarity to a film called The Blob, but I feel this energy in this film as well.
I love The Blob. That was another great.
Yes, it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because this movie's plot is almost virtually identical
to
the Blob, from the old man being the first victim all the way to the end whenever the clowns or the Blob is froze or blown up. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
That old man that you mentioned, Joe, he's the reason that I get the film straight away, because it's so 1940s Western, yeehaw, I'm gonna get, like, so egregiously stereotypical, borderline offensive, that I'm going, oh, right, I get what this film is. This is a living cartoon. This
Absolutely.
is what I'm watching.
That man, by the way, is Royal Dano, and he is character actor royalty, by the way. He'd been working since 1943 in, believe it or not, Westerns. But he became a sci-fi and horror genre mainstay. He I don't know if you've seen it, but in House 2 he played Gramps.
Oh wow, that was Gramps.
He was the old man, and he played a very similar role to this one a few years later in a movie called Space Invaders, in which aliens come down to take over the Earth, but the aliens are just absolutely inept and incompetent. And so he sets him up to be the ambassador from Earth, and he basically bamboozles them all. I am the ambassador from Earth. I want to welcome you.
Wow.
He worked until his death in 1994, but as you can see, highly memorable actor.
And a
He's not with
memorable
us anymore, but
performance,
he's
'cause
still
he
here. Yes,
sticks out like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
he
Now-
does. Such a distinctive voice as well.
Yeah.
Now I've got to ask you guys this because I think I know the answer, but I'm hoping you. The casting of this movie, they specifically went for actors that were bad, right? Except for that old guy, the main lead, the girl who has been in a bunch of films. She's been, I can't remember, but she's been in a heap of movies. But the guy that they get, seriously, guys, that is one of the worst performances
Of all the screenshots you could have chosen,
Yeah. Poor
you
guy.
get the one that where he's buying a shovel from Home Depot and you know he's going to bury somebody with it.
For
But
sure.
his whole, I mean, like, but I love it because it is. I think again, it's genius. If you had performers that were very strong, I think it would detract from the fun of the movie. The fact that he's delivering lines so awful, the fact that she
Another
cannot
door.
deliver a line, it works. But it's surrounded by some great actors too, and one of the first great actor I see in this movie, I'm thrilled to see in it, is
Yeah.
John Vernon.
John
Vernon's
Vernon,
the man.
everybody's favorite dean.
Everybody else in this film is horrible as an actor, but it's perfect.
The cop was-
Did you notice the cameo from a future television and improv star? The nerdy kid who John Vernon almost hits with his cop car.
Yeah,
That's Christopher Titus.
No.
Really?
That is Christopher Titus. This was Christopher Titus's first movie. And he
wow.
doesn't even get the
Wow.
dignity of being killed on screen.
No.
Yeah, he was
No.
killed. He was just. They found his car full of the cotton candy.
Yeah.
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 Wow, that's a good man. That's. I'm gonna go
I
watch
mean,
it
this is a film that doesn't really explain its premise, though, very well. Doesn't need to. I mean, that's the white elephant in the room, isn't it? Why are they clowns, and why did they come here? Like, we never really know why. So the question for me is, in this universe, clowns are derived from aliens.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So
either the Mayans or the Incans, I can't remember who it is. That's where the clowns came from, and so they said,
Oh,
"Oh
yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
clowns must have visited this ancient culture," and so that's where we got the idea of clowns. And I don't know. It's a very flimsy premise, but it works.
It works really well.
You can't have a strong premise in this film. It's the film essentially is the best version of a one joke premise. It's the best version of it, where you have literally the title. That's the joke. We've got killer clowns from outer space.
Killer clowns.
That's right. But in the film itself, they fill it with so much fun and nods and goofiness and silliness and it works like so well. This film feels like it's shot like a horror film, though, don't you think? Like, it's very much got that slasher vibe, Friday the 13th kind of vibe to it.
Well,
But there's
2/3 of
really
this
not much
movie,
violence in this film.
2/3 of this movie are just the clowns going through town, just killing people in creative, silly, stupid ways.
Yeah, my
You know
favorite
what?
is
In
the-
most of this film, I think
shadow
we see
puppets.
three main clowns. So I was really shocked
There were
when the
4.
first clown walks in, and there's a bunch of them walking into town. Though there's more than 4, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was about 8. That's why I'm clown. number
Yeah,
5.
there was a bunch of
Well,
them.
as for the animatronic clowns, they only
Yeah.
made 4.
Mm.
But
Right,
they
'cause
shot
they
it in
were
such a
duplicates.
way they were able to take wigs and take them off and put them back on, or put a different nose on them to make it look like they had a bunch more.
Yeah.
And again, very clever. The even though the budget was only 1.8 million,
It made
the
a lot.
brothers who directed and wrote this thing pretty much supplied all of the special effects and creature effects themselves for
Oh,
free.
wow.
So that's one of
Oh,
the reasons
great.
why this movie looks so good.
And the effects are great. And this the conceit of how to kill the clowns is brilliant. Like, to me,
Take a guess.
That's
Take
so
a guess at the most expensive effect in this movie.
Oh, is it? Is it the nose exploding?
No, it's the
No.
pie, right?
No.
No.
The most expensive effect in this movie was the popcorn gun. Because it
Really?
cost them $7,000 to make
What?
the popcorn gun.
Really?
really?
Wow.
And that was the most expensive effect in the movie.
Wow.
They needed it though, because otherwise that scene when they go into all the cotton candy bodies and in the corner of the screen, it's just popcorn going off the whole time. You had to
Yeah.
explain
Wonderful,
that.
wonderful.
You know, so nah.
And
And by
who
the
knew-
way, that's where the that particular scene. I know it's one camera shot; they don't move the camera much in it, but some nice matte work being done there because
There's
they do
tons
show.
of good matte work in this movie.
Yeah, and, especially when they go to what is the core of the ship. You know, with that big round electric.
Yes.
ball.
Yeah,
that
title.
was beautiful artwork there.
Yeah.
That's Star Wars level matte work for that period. I'll
Yeah.
give it its props there. So very talented. I also like this effect here. I thought was done when we talked about special.
Yeah, that was cool.
How they
love
did that, and now they did that a little bit practically as well, didn't they? I think. And then they
Most
put
likely.
the
I'm sure they took all
optical
kinds of
over the
shortcuts.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
so-
they used kind of the similar thing what they did with the transporter in the 60s for Star Trek. Because
Maybe.
it kind of has that effect where they put some glitter in a thing of water and just, you know, they just put dye in a thing of water and spin it
These-
around, maybe with the same effect.
These guys should be annoying, but they're actually really likable. The ice cream.
Yeah.
dudes.
Yeah. They're
I don't
silly.
know why they're likable, but they're kind of likable.
I still
You know-
can't figure out how they survived.
Oh, I don't think.
Yeah,
they
that was
ever
just-
That
explained
was something they tacked on at the end. Like, we can't kill these guys off. We
Yeah.
gotta, you know,
No, but it
Although I
works
do-
in that moment though too. It's like everybody's
Yeah.
okay.
I know I mentioned something about this in the chat earlier, but it is heavily implied that Rich and Paul had violent, intimate relations with
Oh, yeah.
the female clowns. And I do
yes,
mean
a
violent.
1,000 kisses over their faces. Yeah,
Ripped
indicates
clothing and
that.
everything, and no,
Yeah.
it's never mentioned. I think
Like-
that's the thing that makes the joke work,
Yeah.
is that it's never mentioned. Nobody ever points it out. It's just there for the observant to see and
Goes
go.
over the kids' heads, but
Oh,
every adult
no.
knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Their
Oh, no.
clothes are ripped. Why are their clothes ripped? Oh no!
Oh, no. Oh, my.
Oh no! Someone clowned around.
Ooh.
If there's an award for perfect hair in the movie, it goes to this guy.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Yes, he's like a
Our,
Ken
our
doll.
cop. Oh my god, the hair was like it was sprayed on. I don't know what the deal was there. He is familiar looking, isn't he? He looks like. I bet you his previous roles, he was cast as the high school bully, the arrogant jock, and I thought that's what they were playing him in there. And they do a bit. He's a bit of a, bit of a dick in the beginning, but he's actually a likable character in the end and one of the heroes. And it was. When they were hugging in the end, it was like they were back on Yavin 4, celebrating they just
Yeah.
blew up the Death Star.
Yeah.
So,
So-
Was it me or did he remind you of the villain from Superman, The Quest for Peace?
the radioactive. man,
Radioactive
yes.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, he reminds you of Radioactive.
Yeah, I
Man.
was like, because I think I saw them like.
That's another example of perfect hair.
Yeah.
All right. So this actor's name, by the way, is Grant Kramer, and he's known for B horror movies. He
Oh.
was
Ah.
in, for example, Return of the Killer Tomatoes,
Oh,
New Year's Evil, Santa Claus.
Mm.
He was in Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage.
Wow.
Wow, that's
So
recent. I
he's
actually
known
saw that.
for, Yeah, he's
Wow,
known
that
for a
is
lot of
recent
very,
too.
Yeah.
very niche movies, but that's probably where you've seen
But
it.
hey, man, he's worked with Nicolas Cage and George Clooney. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, you see.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So he's worked
Got a
with some
resume.
Hollywood royalty as well.
Yeah.
He's
got a-
famous by proxy, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's great. And I thought he was really good in the role too. So I think what was really smart about this movie was keeping it very tight. It's a very short movie, isn't it, Jason? Do you know how long this movie goes for? by the
88
time?
minutes.
Yeah, it's very
88
short.
minutes.
88 minutes,
and,
yes.
Yeah, and I think this is where the 80s got it right, especially in this period where films were 88 minutes and it's not a big deal, you know. Films didn't have to go 2 hours. You had your story, you were in and out in 90 minutes. It's a beautiful thing back in the day. And I think if this film had any more extra footage, it's smart that they didn't add it.
I don't think they could afford any extra footage.
Not at all.
Whenever the ice cream brothers, whenever they say leave the ice cream truck and they say we can't, it's rented.
Yeah.
I think that was the director saying we can't do anything to this truck. We rented it.
We rented it. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
I agree.
Okay, let's do something different here. Let's throw out some absolute favourite moments. Joe, Tell me what's your favourite moment of this film?
When the Mooney and the tallest clown are meeting in the precinct, and he cuffs him, and then he takes the cuffs off, and he's walking around with no hands, and then all of a sudden he pops hands back out, and he just ends up killing everybody. I really think that kind of stood out, and the shadow puppet scene. I thought that was awesome.
That is a great inventive scene. I love this scene. That was definitely one of my highlights too, Joe, because it was so ridiculous,
right,
and so indicative of Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoons, and that's why I dug it.
I thought it reminded me a lot of something that Tim Burton would do.
Yes, looking nice. Yeah. I agree with that as well. That's a great scene. That's very fun. How about you, Jace? When you think of this film, what's one of the favourite things that pop into your mind?
What you gonna do with them pies, boy? Interesting fact: the Chiodo brothers wanted to cast Soupy Sales as that man who gets pied to death.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's...
And the production
Soupy
company
Sales, very
said,
famous for,
the production company said no because kids today won't know who Soupy Sales is. We didn't know who that guy was either, so why couldn't we get Soupy? And I've got another part that is actually a funny thing that I really never noticed until now. But the woman main character in this movie, I never realized that she disappears for almost 30 minutes of the movie, and during that entire 30 minutes, she's taking a shower.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that's a long-ass shower, isn't it?
Shower scene in history, and just whenever you think she's done, 10 minutes later, she opens up the curtain and she's getting out drying her hair. Like, were you still in there? The thing in her laundry basket that was getting ready to kill her must have been so bored.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. Is she
Now,
ever coming
Susan
out of there?
Snyder, the actress you're referring to, she is a familiar-looking actress, correct? Have you not seen her in things before? And she was in Return of the Living Dead too. Oh. She was in Weird Science. Remo.
Oh, wow.
She was in Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, which is one of my personal favourites. She was also famously in a couple of Seinfeld episodes, if you remember her.
Oh, wow.
Playing one of Jerry's love interests, which he had many of. But she was in everything. From Murder, She Wrote, to Jake and the Fat Man, to, she actually got quite a long act, but this is not one of her finest performances.
Oh, she was the neo-Nazi in Seinfeld.
Oh my god! That makes me wonder if they were hamming it up on purpose, though. If they were instructed to act bad.
Yeah.
I think Susan Snyder might have been in on that, but I gotta question the main lead. I got to question whether he's actually capable or not. His name is, Grant Kramer. This must have been one of his first films, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Well, as I said, Grant was he was a niche actor at the time.
Yeah. So, but either way, if he had not delivered the lines the way he delivered it, the film would have been poorer because of it. So the choices he did make were the right for the film.
I think we're getting confused. The actor you just mentioned, he was the cop.
Sorry.
The other guy, right?
I'm talking about the other guy. Yes.
Yeah.
Apologize.
He. I'm taking a look at some of his stuff here that he did, and the last credit that I see was in 2000. Oh, I'm sorry. He's done a couple of TV shows. He was in Feast 3. He was in Baywatch.
Yeah.
He was in The Town.
Yes, he was in a couple of episodes of Perry Mason, Rizzoli and Isles, but nothing.
Oh, he was in Quantum Leap.
Was he in Quantum Leap?
Yeah.
Actually, I think I've got the guys confused because isn't John Allen Nelson the cop in this?
He was the other guy, I believe.
Oh, I thought he was. I thought Grant Kramer was the main.
I could be wrong. I don't know. These two guys,
doesn't matter.
You could switch them out. I don't know. All I remember is the hair.
They're the Luke and the Han of this movie, though.
Yeah.
If Luke and Han, if you couldn't tell the difference between them, yes, they are.
Either way, it's not about the performances, although important, are not the main ingredients why this film works. It's really down to the creativity of those brothers, the way they approach the scenes, the jokes that they decided to go with, the bold choice of doing very corny comedy. I mean, there's nothing clever about the comedy except it knows how to use the baseline comedy well, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I think that's where the film worked. And the fact their special effects for the budget they had, great stuff, isn't it? I mean, is this an R-rated movie or is this a PG movie? What is this movie?
I don't think it's R-rated.
Mm-mm.
I don't
Can't
think there's
be,
any
right?
blood in this movie, to be honest. I think it's mostly just
I mean,
cotton candy.
this is targeted to your 10-year-old, 11-year-old boys, right?
Absolutely. They wanted young teens and tweens to watch this. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's R-rated.
Dude,
could
the
be
way
wrong,
they
though.
kill the clowns though, the confetti concept,
Yeah. It was brilliant.
It really
brilliant.
was.
and a wonderful end shot with them pulling back, and we're seeing the spaceship blow up, and we get a beautiful fireworks moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, amazing mat work, because you have a look at that final scene. They're tracking high on a crane, and it's just it's almost Spielberg-esque, that final shot. It's like, and so the money that you said that it's got a really poor budget, but even the quality of the opening graphics is solid.
No, it's incredible. Yes, they did.
So
The Chiodo brothers did an amazing job with this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, everything's like they knew where to spend the money. I suppose that's the point in this. They knew where to spend the money in the right places to make this film work.
Yeah.
Yes. And they have some very clever tricks. One of the tricks that I really enjoy is Clownzilla at the end.
Oh yeah, I love
Because
Yeah, man.
It looks so great. It looks so amazing.
great,
But if you look,
yeah.
they're using forced perspective. It's the same
Yeah,
trick
that's
that
the model.
Peter Jackson used for The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Is whenever you have the
Oh.
actors and Clownzilla in the same shot, you know, you in reality you would have the actors here and you would have Clownzilla here, but the way that you have them shot, it makes Clownzilla look huge, and they're
Nice.
actually like looking at nothing, and it's a clever,
Yeah.
almost effects-free shot, but it looks
it is.
amazing whenever it's
Yeah.
done.
It-
that way.
yeah, I just really lament I never saw this when I was young, because I could see myself getting obsessed with it. This looks like a movie that would have pumped out a few sequels. Was there ever?
Yeah,
should have.
funny you should mention that, because that's one of the big things about this movie. It made a ton of money with a $1.9 million budget. It made $43 million in 1988, so it had legs, and it's definitely considered a cult classic. But sequels have been in development hell. Stephen Chiodo in 2016. He was looking forward to producing some additional movies, but unfortunately, it never happened. And NBC Universal / Sci-Fi actually got in contact with him, and they're in talks about making either sequels or a TV show.
Well, it really belongs on the Sci-Fi Channel at this point.
Yeah.
My question would be: is it's cultish, but is it too far gone? I mean, hey, what am I saying? Top Gun Maverick came out last couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
it doesn't
That was
matter
30,
anymore.
40 years.
As
It
much
just
as I
doesn't
love this movie, it's not Top Gun.
What
I
do
don't
you mean?
think that that's
but I'm
comparison
using
is
that
warranted.
as an example of one film and then 34 years later another film. Yeah, that
I'm
length in
Saying
sequels.
maybe a remake, but I think by this point, I think the sequel ship has sailed.
Well, I mean,
Well, the thing is, here's the problem. If you make a remake of this film, what are you going to do? You're going to add CGI, you're going to up the effects budget, everything is going to be modernized, and then you lose the absolute essence of the film.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
but you do have a story that's available for you. If you think about it, those popcorn pieces that they shoot out at each other are their offspring. So
Oh,
a
dude,
little
the
baby
sequel is
cub.
easy, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just like, oh, they blew up one of our ships. Now we're sending back 3 ships to
Oh,
investigate
you
what
could do
happened.
that. You could do that,
Done.
or you have the offspring running around causing a muck because now they've grown up.
I
The
think, Joe, you
mutant
need to pull the
mimes from outer
Sci-Fi Channel.
space.
Yeah, I mean, we should. We could write it. The three of us could write a great story.
Killer Klowns versus Mutant Mimes.
Oh,
There you go.
and then just
We're the only
And
ones
French
in the cinema
accordion.
enjoying the film, mind you.
So, as you know, one of my favorite things to do when we do one of these shows is to find a movie connection to a movie that we previously reviewed. And I don't know if it's going to air before this or after this, but one movie that we are looking at is Friday the 13th, Part 6.
It'll be
So
after
how
this.
is this connected to Killer Klowns from Outer Space? Well, the music that introduces Clownzilla was originally composed for the trailer for Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Oh,
And
Wow.
the producers of that movie, they rejected that musical cue for a little more cliched music approach to it, and so they took that and they put it in this movie.
Oh, well, that's
So
great. They
there's our
repurposed
connection.
that's
that.
cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. If you're making a movie for a studio, guys, that's what you should be doing. Is asking about all the leftover scores that nobody's using.
Yeah, I'm
Might
sure
find
there's a
mine
ton
some
more.
gold in there.
Yeah.
Nah, that's a great connection, and yeah, this film. Like I said, I appreciate what it is more than I think that I'm in love with it, because I think I missed the boat of that connection. But it's such a great satire on the genre, on that period of time when we were inundated with slasher films and films like Invaders from Mars and The Blob and all these type of genre pictures. And it was just, I feel like these guys have come along and gone, it's all pretty ridiculous, isn't it? So let's show you how ridiculous it can be.
Yeah.
And for that, they have my mad respect.
The person who has the highest body count in this movie is John Vernon.
Yes,
So-
that makes sense. That's
So many
brilliant.
people in this movie died because he would not get off his butt and do anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's yeah. That's a
so
great
great.
point. That's a great point. I love the fact that the ship came in almost comet-esque
Yeah.
and landed in, and everybody went, "Oh, it's a
I think that's Haley's Comet.
yeah, it's that
1986.
yeah, and which I saw, by the way. And it then relocates, but nobody noticed it relocating.
Well, you know.
It just bloop.
Again, the moment this film actually tried to apply logic is where this film would have, just like a house of cards would have folded in on itself.
Yeah.
The more suspension and disbelief, the better in this
Yeah.
one, I think.
And there's
No,
one
no.
a fun little tidbit I'm going to leave you guys with.
Yeah.
If you ever go into a record store, there is a soundtrack that was released later on in time. I'm talking 2006. And
Wow, that's a few years later.
yeah, and if you do find it, buy it because it's worth some coinage. It's a
Okay.
69-minute disc, and it has 4 bonus tracks. And of course, there's several versions of the theme, the main theme, Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
And it's the actual music that was done by John Mazzari.
Okay,
so
cool. Get the
definitely-
soundtrack, guys.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I definitely want to get it.
All right, guys. If I'd love to hear your comments. Have you seen Killer Klowns from Outer Space? I guess you would have. What were your first impressions? What do you think of the film now? Is this a film that I should keep watching, or am I better off just moving forward? Love to know, and you can do that obviously in our comments. You can also find me at TikTok while it lasts, and also on Twitter at VHSJace. You can find the great Jason Roy Gaston permeating the internet everywhere on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And Joe, we've got another 3 hours. Start listing all your social medias, buddy. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Joe Dove CQ on TikTok. You can find me on Joe Epumbo on Twitter. You can find me at 2BScene, the number 2, BESCENE, where we do all the horror movie reviews and have a lot of fun talking about other films and such. And of course, I am the captain of the Captain Squadron. And you can see us all back tomorrow at 9 p.m. live.
That is
every
correct.
Thursday. Yes,
That
every
is-
Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We dive into the greatest and worst of Star Trek.
Well, yeah, but at the moment we're looking at the greatest with Picard,
Yes,
episode
it's
8
been
coming up. So check that out. There's also, I'm going to say, there's not only going to be a fun show, but there's going to be more mysteries, conspiracies revealed, guys. So definitely catch up on that. And until then, guys, we will see you next time in the VHS fold, I guess. Say goodbye, people.
Lock us
Goodbye,
up.
people.